Okay, welcome to our welcome to our Sexpert Panel on LGBTQ plus love and intimacy, hosted by Loveology University and sponsored by JIMMYJANE, one of the affordable luxury brands in the adult pleasure products industry. JIMMYJANE was founded on the exclusive principle that everyone deserves to experience shame-free, sex-positive pleasure to empower their overall well-being. They believe that sexual wellness should be unapologetically fun, adventurous, and insanely hot. My name is Tamara Bell. I'm an ACS certified sex educator, a love coach, and ambassador to students for Loveology University. I am also the founder of the Home Pleasure Party Plan Association, also known as HPPA, and I am your moderator today. I am now going to introduce to you our esteemed panelists, and can each of you tell us a little bit about yourself, your work, and if you're giving a free gift for one or more of our attendees, you can just say that in this. So we will start with Dr. Ava. I met Dr. Ava about 16 years ago, and we clicked right away. She is my mentor, my advisor, and my boss lady. But more importantly, Dr. Ava is my friend. Dr. Ava, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do to keep love alive?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a clinical sexologist. I'm an ASEX certified sex counselor and provider for CEUs. I'm also an author and speaker, but I'm most proud of my Loveology University, where my mission is to empower adults through positive and accurate information and education on love and relationships, intimacy, and human sexuality. Because I believe that every single adult around the world should have access to this kind of information so that they can make love, intimacy, and sex a priority in their lives. So this keeps my love life alive, working with Tamara on Loveology University, and just sharing all the wisdom that I've learned in the last 25 years. Which makes me feel pretty old.
Well, thank you, Dr. Ava, for sharing that and kind of helping us to keep that love alive.
And by the way, I forgot to mention that we are giving away 2 courses on transgender care today that I'll tell you more about when Dr. Z comes on, because we collaborated on these 2 fantastic courses for you.
Speaking of Dr. Z, she's up next. I was introduced to Dr. Z by Dr. Ava, and Dr. Z and Dr. Ava collaborated on creating 2 courses on transgender care from female to male and male to female for Loveology University's curriculum. So Dr. Z, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on this panel. I always enjoy collaborating with people in the field and sharing more information. I think it's incredibly important to get information from right sources. I am a clinical psychologist based in Los Angeles, and I specialize solely working with transgender individuals. That's all I do. I've been specializing in the field for about a little bit over 10 years now. I work only with adults for personal reasons. Just primarily my bias is that working with kids, you need to have a background in children developmental psychology, which I don't have. So I focus on adults. So that's pretty much all I do, focus on this field. I do have a background in sexuality as well. That's how Eva and I collaborated on the course, because I am somewhat versed in the field from my background, but from this point on, primarily gender issues.
Well, thank you so much, and we're happy to have you on this panel. Marjah Hunt. I met Marjah years ago when I actually first got in the industry. And she was deciding at that time if she wanted to get in the industry or not. She was my first rep. I owned a party plan company back in the early 90s or mid 90s. And she worked with me for a little bit and she decided to venture out on her own. I've seen her grow from a sex toy rep to now completing her dissertation to become Dr. Hunt by the end of the year. So I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited to see what you're going to do in the future. So Marjah, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. And thank you for having me. Very honored to be in this space with you as always. So a lot of people don't know this about me. My journey actually started about 22 years ago. I started in the adult industry doing sex work. And for today, what do I do? Well, first and foremost, I identify as hella Black and hella queer. That's my first and foremost identity. And today, the work that I do, my passion, I identify as kink and gender affirming, sex positive, licensed marriage and family therapist. And so I specialize in relationship and partnership work. Yeah, I also am a professor and teaching things like sex therapy and cultural diversity to upcoming therapists. And I also work as a clinician and doing private practice and working with couples, relationships. I provide workshops and trainings for relationships, couples, partnerships, and businesses on being more inclusive, on cultural humility, just being culturally humble in general is my passion. So that's a little bit of what I do. I am also offering 20% off any trainings if any of the viewers have a company in which they want one of those trainings or work for a company where they want the trainings. If individuals email me, Dr. M.A. Hunt, with the code Sexpert, then they can get 20% off of a training.
Nice. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Buck Angel. Buck Angel is an icon in the industry and is an amazing person overall. I met him at a trade show, and from our first conversation, I felt like I've known him forever. His resume is very intense. So, Buck Angel, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
It isn't intense. It's intense. I've been in this industry for, gosh, over 20 years now. So hey everybody. So my work really started in the pornography world. I created the genre of trans male pornography 20 years ago. I'm 59 years old now. So with that, I really got into creating a space to talk about sex, specifically with transgender men or transsexual men, and specifically with trans men who did not choose to have bottom surgery. So my specific space was really talking about men who have vaginas and how to become more confident with yourself, because I believe that sex does create a confidence in your own being and how to walk the world. So my work started in pornography, but then really moved into more sexual wellness. And I don't really consider myself an educator, because I kind of leave that to all you who really went to school. I consider myself a guy who really just wants to make the world a better place with sex and teaching people how to really connect to their bodies. And it's not just, so what happened was my audience grew to become less trans at this point and more female. And what I mean by cisgender female, I have a huge following, and then cisgender gay men. And so really, it's so fascinating to me that my work really started in trans, but then really transcended to all kinds of people. And so with that, I realized that I do have a unique perspective as growing up female and transitioning to live male. I have a whole different perspective that women really tend to, and I mean more cisgender women, tend to understand. So my work now is really just talking about sex and talking about how important it is to the world. And I create sex products as well. And I created a transgender male sex toy called the Buck Off, which was the first on the market. And it just, it created a space so that we could all start to create stuff, and other companies started coming, and we just really started to create a world where queer and LGBT people could start to, you know, sort of celebrate their bodies, because I think that was missing a lot early on in the days. So and with that, I'm giving a couple bottles of tea lube, which is also a product I created for trans men, specifically dealing with dryness or irritation or things, because we don't talk about vaginal health within the trans male space. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's a lot.
It is a
I'm
lot.
glad to have you
Yeah.
here. Definitely. Miss Chelsea. So I met Chelsea when she first came out in the industry. No, when she first came into the industry. She was shy and quiet, but I saw something special in her. Someone brought her to my suite. And I've watched her grow into a company, allowing her to receive 2 X-Biz Awards for Best LGBTQ Company of the Year. We've become not only colleagues, but we're sister friends. So Chelsea, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yeah. My name's Chelsea Downs. I'm one of the founders of New York Toy Collective. We are a pleasure products company that specializes in products for the queer community. We offer a lot of gender affirmation products, dildos, binders, harnesses, lots of good stuff. In celebration of this panel, we have a coupon code. It's Sexpert, so SEXPERT, which gives you a discount on the site if you wanted to check anything out. The company was started because I really felt like there were so many products I wanted that didn't exist. We had like iPads and 45 million versions of rabbits, but you know, there were no dildos that could bend. There were no products with foreskin that were also body safe. And I was just like tired of complaining about it. And just put my money where my mouth is. And that was 12 years ago. And I've been blessed to be able to do it full time and really live a life of helping people have the sex lives they want and spreading pleasure all over the world. So I'm happy to be here and share what I've learned about myself and what I've learned from my amazing customers with all of you and anyone else who wants to listen.
Well, great. Glad to see that you are on our panel. Lastly, we have Nenna Joyner. So I met Nenna, I overheard some people talking about her and I was like, I gotta call her. So I called her. She had her guards up because so this person from nowhere is calling, asking me questions about my business. And as we began to talk over time, I earned her trust and the rest is history. When I say that a person who is always trying to build and expand and do other things, that is Nenna. She goes from one thing to the next, but instead of just dreaming about it, she actually puts it in action. We are now great friends and we're mentors to each other. So Nenna, can you tell us a little bit more about you?
So I was guarded because I thought they were a tax collector because, you know, you just don't be, Black people don't answer the phone for people. You know what I mean? Like, who is this? Like, you know, on my personal line, you know, I got a Google phone number and I got a personal line. But I just want to just give this opportunity, especially since a lot of people in the industry are going to be seeing this, and just to let Ms. Tamara know that she is well loved, not even well liked, well loved, and your value in this business. Not that you're owning a shop, but you have. Not that you're dealing with manufacturing, but you could. But that you being a Black woman actually means so much more, especially in an industry that is so dominant by other people and not people of color, and also in the business sector of it, and not just the porn sector. So I just wanted to give you kudos and just tell you, I'm sure the sentiment is equally as, in fact, emphatic when we say we love you. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to be here. But again, my name is Nenna Joyner, and I'm in Oakland, California. And one of the things was very difficult. Ms. Tamara was like, well, what do you do? Well, I sell sex toys. I started Fillmore really out of the trunk of my car in the Bay Area, going around and asking people if they wanted to buy any products from me. And of course, I sold some, very few, but it was more a test in how bad did I want this? How bad did I want to sit in the fringes and to be in community and understanding of people who are sex workers who get ostracized, and when you say, yeah, I sell a dildo, that's no different stigma level, but still, you get ostracized to a huge degree. So all of us have probably experienced that on a spectrum. But after going from space to space, I think I did about 50 retail locations before I was actually able to find someone who was like, yeah, I'll rent to you. And I've been there in that one space for over 12 years. And I just have to say that, one thing about the sex industry, all the numbers will tell you, yeah, you can make a lot of money and do, some incredible things. But I would say that this business has afforded me an opportunity to figure out who I am in life. And also what I really wanted to do as a kid. Like, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to change my community. And I do a lot of that work through a lot of boards and a lot of community events. Like right now, my partner is making Play-Doh for a Vietnamese festival that's happening this weekend. So I get the opportunity to not just say I'm an ally, but I'm actually in there being a part of a community and looking to change the hearts and minds. And, in addition to the sex stuff and just doing everything that we all do on a daily basis, I'm also working on a bar right now. And, for me, it's, yeah, you can do your best to own a strip club, but I would think of Fillmore as the strip without the strip, that we're looking to expand what we do, because as we all know, our margins are being cut and affected in the adult business. And so it's like, where else can I make money but use the platform of the adult business to further that agenda? So that's me in a little bit. And I also like to fish. So if you guys have fishing holes out there, share me your photos. I will bring my fishing poles out. Seriously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nina. Appreciate you being on the panel. So now let's begin our discussion on LGBTQ plus love and intimacy. I'd like to ask all of the panelists the same question. Okay. The question is, how do you think celebrities have helped the LGBT community? So we'll start with Dr. Ava.
Well, I think that lots of celebrities like Oprah, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus, Jay-Z, Beyonce, all of them have really taken strong stands in supporting LGBTQ plus and the rights. They're supporting the rights, they're supporting same-sex marriage, or even legislation regarding those who identify as transgender. So I really do believe that these celebrities help us, and they help the mainstream also to comprehend and to accept and to love and to respect. And then when celebrities actually come out, as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer, they do also help to advance the movement for equality, which is what we all want. The celebrity that I can think of most recently is Elliot Page, because when he came out, oh my goodness, he was interviewed in Time magazine and Vanity Fair, I believe, Rolling Stone, even the Hollywood Reporter and the Washington Post. And of course, he was all over TV. So that kind of exposure really helps to shine a very positive light on the LGBT community from my point of view. But I'd love to hear all the panelists' point of view, because that's even more important. But that's just my opinion.
Well, thanks. Dr. Z, same question.
Yeah, I can echo pretty much what Eva just said. I think one of the biggest key with celebrity figures is that they bring awareness. And awareness is always very helpful. I know that a lot of people in gender community may not agree with a lot of celebrity politics and whatnot and their ideologies, and that's a different matter. Nonetheless, I still think that it takes a particular individual to use their visibility platform to come out publicly, to talk about the issues publicly. That all still takes a particular type of resilience, I would say. It's never easy to be out there talking about any kind of issues, especially if they're still in minority. So I think that awareness is a big key. I think the important thing with celebrities is for people to remember not to over-identify, again, with their ideologies or with their way of looking at the issues they're even speaking about, and to really use your own thinking hat, if you will, to think for yourself, because not everybody's going to be alike. But I think that they bring a lot of awareness. I have a lot of people I work with that will a lot of time just cite particular celebrity because that's what gives them courage to come out. So I think that that's really important.
Okay. Marjah?
Yeah, I think I, second and third what everyone else has said. Specifically in the Black community, right? There's so much stigma around identifying as part of the queer community. And when you do have celebrities that get pushed to the, highlighted, Lizzo, Lil Nas X, right? Frank Ocean is a little bit in the background, but a lot of those that Black folks can identify with that come out, it gives them someone else to identify with. It pushes them one step closer towards letting people in. I don't like the term coming out, but letting people in to their own closet and their own world. And so I think even at times when celebrities are highlighted in a negative way, it still brings awareness. It still allows people to say, you know what, everyone else is talking negatively about this, but that's how I felt for so long and haven't felt comfortable identifying or sharing with folks. So yeah, I think that's some of the ways that it helps.
Okay. And Chelsea?
Celebrities, I think that they have, when I think back to my career and visibility, I think the first mainstream celebrity that I remember, there was obviously Ellen DeGeneres coming out in my childhood. That was huge, massively huge. And then I remember Chaz Bono, Cher's son, transitioning, and that was the first transition that I ever remember seeing in a mainstream publication with distribution, like Time Magazine or something. And I think what that does I think a lot of people, some people are able to imagine things that they have never seen before. But most people can only see what they see, what's in front of them. So having celebrity visibility, I think, really moves the needle and also gives language to folks that might not be inside community, to have that language, because a publication like the Times or the Hollywood Reporter will, in theory, fact check and get things right and write a blurb that then allows anyone passing by or anyone sitting in a doctor's office to then understand that information and change their perspective. And I think to also see people succeed, whether that be professionally, emotionally, or just not to have this tragic narrative. If you look at the history of queers in cinema, there's a lot of kind of how the story ends is generally kind of tragic, either with HIV or loneliness or it's glim, right? So to see real people thriving and succeeding and really enjoying life, and to an extent enjoying pleasure and fun. For growing up, for me, that's Lindsay Lohan and the paparazzi and her relationship with Samantha Rhodes and whatever that was, but it was all over the tabloids and it was massive, along with Girls Gone Wild, and those sorts of cultural phenomenons give people language and release a little bit of taboo, even though they can be portrayed in very surface, attention seeking, almost pornographic ways. I do think that that to some degree, some level of exposure really does help give people the language to at least know what to Google or what to research or what an acronym might mean. And so I think that celebrities, I I don't know. I think it's been, obviously I don't want to say something's been like good or bad, but I think in terms of visibility and in terms of like laws and legislation, I think it's been massive. If we look over the things that have happened in the past 10 years, and even my career alone, I mean, now you have the big players coming into the, who ignored trans and queer bodies and space and language intentionally or perhaps unintentionally for 20 years, now kind of changing their tune because it's no longer acceptable to be bigoted. So, I think it moves the needle, and I think social media has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah.
Great. Buck Angel, being a celebrity yourself,
Exactly.
can you
Well,
your insight?
yeah, I wouldn't really consider myself that. But that being said, I do think any exposure to anything people have a, different way of thinking about, specifically the LGBT community, people have a lot of hate towards because they don't know. So exposure is brilliant because it really does help people see us. But on the flip side of that, it's a pressure, I think, that celebrities take on sometimes because they feel that they have to do it as opposed to wanting to do it. And I think what Dr. Z said was very, very profound, because just because a celebrity is saying that or a part of it, I think people just take things sometimes and don't look into what this person is saying. And sometimes maybe the things they're saying don't necessarily represent all of us within the community. That's the part of community that's difficult, I think, because just because it's LGBTQIA, I'm sorry if I don't know more of the things that are being added on, but that being said, not all of us are the same in this community, and not all of us necessarily want the same thing, and not all of us are represented the same way. So it is a difficult question for me, because on one side, I do believe it's very important to put that exposure out there for us. But on the flip side of that, let's just, for example, say there's a celebrity who's not gay or not trans, but they're an ally and they are saying things that maybe I disagree with, right, as a trans man. So now I'm being represented by this celebrity that says X, Y, and Z about trans stuff that I actually disagree with. So I'm just putting a different example out there because I want people to see that I don't necessarily always think just because somebody has a huge platform that they should be opening their mouth on things unless they've actually done some research. And I think today, which you said, Chelsea, social media is so profound and it can just cause so much, not necessarily good stuff. I mean, I could tell you for myself, I get into a lot of with my own community because I have different ideas. So that being said, whose responsibility is it to bring the awareness to the world, right? Is it my responsibility? Is it yours? Yeah, on some level it is mine because I have a different way of thinking. So if I want people to understand that there's a different voice, then, but to get back to that, I do think it's important, number one, but I also think it can be a dangerous space, number two, because the representation, right? Are you being represented in that space? And I can say that for people of color. Do you think any celebrity of color should be speaking for you? No, you might have, just because you're a person of color doesn't mean you align all the way with everything there. So that's me again, being that guy who likes to make the wedge and everything. I only do that because I believe in critical thinking. I most definitely believe in critical thinking. And I think it's gotten me this far, because if I did follow guidelines, I would not be here. I would not be the man that I am today. And I would not stand. And you all know me pretty well. I stand for what I believe in. And so that's important to me. And that's what I pretty much put out into the world. And it causes a lot of problems. But 100% people should be speaking up about things that people don't understand.
Agreed. Yeah.
Nenna.
All right, repeat the question.
So the question is, how do you think celebrities have helped the LGBT community?
I think they have helped and they have hurt. Like everyone has said, there's a spectrum of everything. There's a spectrum of white, Black, female, male, trans, queer, gay. I think that because when I hear celebrity, someone who has hit that pinnacle of news outlet where it can be seen, I think it gives an opportunity for people who wouldn't necessarily turn that channel to actually see that person and get a different perspective on something. Because the more people you see, the more things you're like, hey, I see myself in this person. But it also allows you to gain language to be able to deal or not deal. You know, I mean, I'm queer myself, but I know everybody in my family doesn't support it, but it doesn't mean that they disrespect me. And I think a lot of times when the celebrities do show their queerness out of a want or a need, that I think people get afraid, like the feelings inside of them are going to come out and it's going to make them I think people confuse their compassion for queerness. You know what I mean? Like they really want to support you. I think they really, really want to support you, but they said, if I do, that makes me queer. But it's compassion. I think people really need to dig deep. It's that feeling you're getting, like you're liking this person. It's nothing more than just compassion, you know? And it's great to have a celebrity, because when you say celebrity, the look and the feel, but you know, when I'm out in Oakland and I go to East Oakland, the gay people who are lesbian over there don't connect with the queer people who are in uptown or in the downtown or in the wokeness. And so we, you know, there's just so many spectrums. You know, the celebrity for them is not the celebrity for us or celebrity for others. And I just think it's an opportunity to learn as well. You know, the more celebrities talk, the more people listen, the more they put it on the television, the more opportunities someone has to pick it up. And just because you pick it up and you like it and you love it and you want to support that person doesn't mean that you're going to be, you know, you're going to be gay, you know, so.
Thank you, guys. So we are halfway through our panel, and as we begin our questions, I'd like to ask everybody to sort of keep your responses to at least 2 minutes, and just to give everybody a chance to get their questions answered. So our first question is for you, Dr. Ava. How has Lavology University been inclusive in the LGBTQ plus community?
So I launched Lavology University 14 years ago in 2007. And I did include courses on gay male culture and sexual relationships and health. Plus, I did include a course on women loving women in a lesbian culture. But it wasn't until I met Dr. Z in 2017 that we added a course on transgender care for male to female, plus a course on transgender care for female to male. And Dr. Z is just so profoundly intelligent. I mean, she really created the course. I merely just narrated it. So thank you, Dr. Z. It is two of the best courses which we are sharing with all of the viewers today. And yes, we even utilized celebrity names like Chaz Bono and Caitlyn Jenner just to make it more mainstream. I'm a great believer in going to the mainstream when there's something that we want the human race to be aware of. And I think that the pandemic has been devastating on gender, you know, inequality in the world. So we are in a world where comprehensive sort of multi-sexual education is necessary. And Lavology University, I believe, has a responsibility to be inclusive of all races and sexual orientations and sexual identities. And we're always looking for feedback from our students. Right, Tamara?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, some positive and some negative, but it's important.
Yeah, we take the negative and make it positive, so.
Yes.
Yes, so. Dr. Z, what is the biggest challenges transgender people face when it comes to sexuality in relation to their new bodies?
It's a complicated question because how do we define a new body? So we're talking about people who are seeking particular medical services in order to get their body more congruent, or we're talking about people who are very comfortable with their bodies and are not really seeking any surgeries. So it's a little bit more complicated, but I think regardless of whatever person decides to choose, one thing is really important is not to use a cookie cutting approach. That transition is this particular path and it entails all of the surgeries, or entails all of the services. It has to be highly individualized. And within that individualized process, it's very important when we talk about sexuality to distinguish between people who are comfortable, again, even though they identify as transgender, comfortable with their body parts, and as a result of a comfort, don't necessarily want to seek surgery, versus people who are experiencing severe discomfort, and even then. So learning our relationship to our bodies, pre and post surgery, again, if that's for individuals, that is very personalized, is an important part of the process. Learning a relationship to your body, even if you do want to have surgeries and unable to get them for whatever reasons, is also an important part. I think that's really the key, is getting in touch with your body, understanding your body, and shifting and stripping the body away from these cultural paradigms of vagina means female, penis means male, breast means female, and learning how to understand and see your body as really a route to sexual experiences apart from all of those labels.
Great. Marjah, how do you go about finding a therapist who deals with LGBTQ plus issues and challenges?
So there's a few different things. Usually the first thing that I tell folks is to filter your searches, right? When you're searching for folks, it's okay to search for what you need and what you're looking for. So you can search up trans affirming therapist, or therapists that specialize in gender affirming challenges, or sexuality, or different things like that. And so the first thing I think is to filter searches. Ask for a free consult. When you find someone, you don't have to just go with the first person that you're looking for, right? Ask for a free consult and interview them. A lot of times it's assumed that if you identify as part of the community, that that's where your problems are rooted, and that's not always the case, right? And so if your problems are related, ask questions about what you need from that therapist, what's going to be important for you, what they're knowledgeable about, what some of their biases are. I always say, always ask therapists, what are your biases? What are your blind spots? Because we all have them, right? So definitely interviewing them. If you're working within a broader health system or healthcare system that is definitely gatekeepy and flawed, advocate for yourself. If they connect you with someone and it doesn't feel right, ask for someone else. That is okay. And folks often think, especially folks from marginalized or oppressed populations, right? When you're dealing with someone that's assumed to have more power, then we just have to go with whoever they pair us with. No, you don't, right? If you're not feeling them, if they're not giving you what you need, if you don't feel affirmed in whatever care you're getting, ask for someone else and advocate for yourself. So those are probably the most important things that I would say to finding someone.
Absolutely, that's great. Angel, as a transsexual man, how did you learn to connect with your body?
So what I did was I masturbated, which was so difficult. I was like, I hated that thing. But I just couldn't not be sexual with my body. Prior to my transition, I was sexual, but I never really touched my body. I was kind of like that old school dyke in a way, where I just kept my clothes on and I was totally freaked out by touching myself. So as I grew into being a man, really touching my body was important to me. But I didn't understand how important touching my vagina was. I just really didn't until I did it. And once I did it, it really, and I say this all the time, it was like God spoke to me. And I was like, oh my God, my vagina is amazing. And I did not ever want to get surgery after that. But it was a very difficult space to be in, and why I started to share it. You know, it's lovers. I started getting lovers. I started getting the things I was scared to get because I accepted my own body. And that's really where my work kind of started, when I was like, wait a minute, why are we all just saying, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-bottom surgery. In no way am I. It's everyone's different in the trans community. And that's really important here. You need to hear that. Everyone is different. Everyone's choices, how they do it. Mine was to keep my vagina. And so I really wanted to share that. So that was really instrumental, and not only me saving my own life, but really being sexually active in the world. And I mean the world. I'm totally bisexual, and that just really made me into a space that I feel like I'm so lucky to be able to share that with everybody, and hopefully kickstarted a new movement on some level.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I hear a lot of especially trans people who can't seem to grasp who they are, like, and it takes them a lot, or, you know, they're not really sure. So I think, you know, everything that's being said on this panel is very, very helpful for those people who are sort of stuck in the middle. Chelsea, what is your role in supporting LGBTQ plus intimacy?
Well, my role, I can only do so much, but but what we try to do, at least on like a company and institutional level, is create products that people really want and people really need. I mean, I remember when we first got started, like people would ask for products that they wanted, that my business mind would say like, this is cool, and I get that you want this, but I have a feeling I can only sell like 1 or 2 or 3 of these. So, you know, and in the beginning we could really support that. But what's been so amazing is over the course of the 12 years we've been in business, so many of those wants and needs, we now see a larger population wanting. So for example, when we started making Packers, for those of you that might not know, it's a flaccid penis that you would wear like in your underwear to create a bulge effect. And you might wear it for like dysphoria, or you might wear it just to feel more comfortable, or you might wear it for play. People have a variety of reasons, but traditionally they were always looking like penises and skin tone colors, right? So like a makeup, a cosmetic skin tone color. And then there were people who would like, well, I want a gold one, or I want a purple one, which if you take that with how I defined the product a few moments ago, you'll see like, you know, most people have, you know, human skews, like we're not like Smurf colored. But then we started doing Packers in colors and people love them, right? So I think that there's this like continuous shift with language and with sexual needs and desires that's ever changing and really fluid, for lack of a better term. So our job, or my job, is to listen to that and watch the culture as it pulses, and give folks things they want. And that's also like the benefit of being small and being domestic and hand making things, because we can make a purple one, a blue one, and just kind of see how it goes, right? And when I think to like what we have as a company have done, I mean, we were the first company to have a like nationally distributed SDP, and an SDP is an acronym for stand to pee device. And there's all different shapes, and sometimes they look like funnels and sometimes they look like penises. But just to be able to do that, and then we started making them in colors too, but also that looks like penises. So I guess my job, or my role, is to kind of just like give the people what they want, and what they need in every moment. And the beautiful thing about that is it's always changing. The products that are our top sellers this year in 2021 are very different than the products from before, because people change, attitude and culture changes, and culture shifts so rapidly as well.
And I used an STP. I went camping, and that was the first time I ever used it. It's challenging at the beginning, but once you get a hang of it, it's your best friend.
Yeah.
when you go out.
Well, once you can pee into a targeted space, you know, a lot of things open up in your world. So
Yes.
yeah. It's a universal skill.
Nenna, how do you make LGBTQ plus people feel comfortable in the work that you do?
Well, from a retailer's perspective, I don't know who is queer coming into the space. That is not my business. My business is to be affirming to each person. I think what we do at the store is we give away the product for free, but we give you the information, the service, and also the perspective of that you're in a safe space. You can talk about whatever you want to. I think when we are talking about people, we have people on our workforce and on our team that get it, you know what I mean, lived experience. And I think that also is another way that we can also, not just from a retailer reading, and you know, I got like magazines here, I'm reading, not just reading from magazines or looking at pictures, but really saying, hey, does this really work? How do you feel about that? Before we encounter a person who may be queer, may be full-figured, and then they say, I'm not feeling comfortable about this, that we're able to talk about things and get education from our team, and also talk to them about their conversations that they have with kindred spirits who are able to share that identity with them because they see something connected. Like, I'm a smaller frame, so someone may not feel as confident or comfortable saying, hey, I'm a big person, you know, but to a bigger body person, they may say, hey, how do you do this? What do you do? You know what I mean? And they can honestly say, I really do this, or I do that. And I think that's the benefit of having a diverse workforce, you know, that you're able to really have true experiences and figure it out. But I know I got to keep the 2 minutes. But again, when someone walks in the store, you don't know if they're queer. You don't know if they're big. That may not be how they identify. Just because I'm a certain size and someone's bigger from me doesn't mean that that is exactly the narrative that they have for their experience. And so I have to respect that. And I just have to treat them like a being. And that's it.
Okay, great. Buck Angel. A viewer is asking, was intimacy difficult for you as a transsexual man?
Oh, 100% it was. Well, intimacy was difficult for me before my transition. So because I was already freaking out on my own self, and, you know, again, I'm 59, I transitioned 27 years ago. So I'm coming from such a different space than what you see today in the trans movement. I didn't have social media, so I didn't have a connection. And I didn't really get the love from the gay women's community on, you know, because I would say I'm a man. And so there was a lot of pushback. So intimacy was difficult for me because to have intimacy, I think you have to know how to love yourself. And so I didn't really love myself. And it wasn't until I transitioned that I really did learn to actually accept and love myself, because I was actually becoming the person I wanted to be. So because of that, and that's why there's so many layers to transitioning and how these things can actually, the right time that you choose, or however you choose to transition, it should always be positive. It should never be negative. And so it really just made everything positive for me in a sense that I could start to connect with other people in intimacy, which I think is probably one of the #1 hardest things for people, human beings, to do, is intimacy, because it's really a vulnerable space. And to be vulnerable, again, is just a space that a lot of people are scared to go to. So yeah, through my transition, my intimacy really grew. And now I'm so able to have so much intimacy in my life that it's just a miracle. And it's a gift that it's a gift that I do not look at in any way other than a gift. So, and that really just came from the love of myself and the love of learning to love myself.
That's good. Dr. Z, what are words of advice to providers working with gender diverse people?
You have to get yourself familiar with a huge area of gender diversity that we're experiencing today. You can't just read one book, one biography, and generalize it to entire experience. You also have to get into the community you're in and not be afraid to volunteer or do some type of work, just to get yourself very familiar with people and the issues they're struggling with. You also, this is my biggest pet peeve, if you're a mental health provider, you should not be marketing yourself as LGBTQ therapist unless you've done some work or you've done some kind of training, it's welcome to start somewhere. I started somewhere too, but you need to be transparent. If you're just starting out, just let your clients know that you're just starting out, you're lacking that experience. So again, we're lacking a lot of providers in this field. I want more people to specialize because there's so many therapists who do so many modalities and so many different therapeutic issues and not enough specialized. So I want more people to go into this field. And again, we're there for a reason. I'm specializing in it for a reason. People are specialized in the field. Contact them, reach out, ask them for support, ask me for guidance or books recommended or seminars recommended. Those things are out there.
Great. Marjah, since there's so many letters in the LGBTQ alphabet and all the changing pronouns, how do we keep from offending people, and how do we make sure that we get it?
So that's a really good question. To that, I always say, ask and honor. So I do, like I said earlier, a lot of trainings in cultural humility. At the end of the day, just knowing we're gonna offend someone, right? We both identify as Black women. A lot of us identify as queer, and our narratives are different. What our stories, how we identify is different. And so to say I want to be culturally competent or I don't want to offend anyone, so I want to learn all of this is impossible. You're going to offend someone. So I always tell folks, just ask, how do you identify? Do you care to share your pronouns? Sometimes folks don't want to share their pronouns, right? So you ask, do you care to share your pronouns? My pronoun is this. How do you want to be identified? Ask, and then you honor whatever it is that they say. If you have questions, ask questions. That's it. I think Buck Angel talked about it a little bit earlier, as did Dr. Z. There is no cookie cutter for anything. So allowing each individual that you engage with to be the expert on their own lives, on their own identities, and not saying, oh, you gave me this information, so I think you should fit into this box, and just saying, where do you want to be? How do you want to be identified or referred to? So that's my response to how we can go about not offending people. And if you do offend someone, you apologize, keep it pushing, and do better. That's it.
That's definitely good. Chelsea, how can allies support LGBTQ folks?
That's a great one. I really like what you said about just ask and affirm. I feel like that almost sums it all up right there. I mean, for me, allyship is kind of what happens when no one's looking. So that means, like, you know, act as if someone's looking, right? If that's what it takes for you to stand up or do the right thing. If you hear something wrong or you say something wrong, or if you hear someone else, you know, just nudge them in the right direction. Or it could be as you could just simply say, like, what did you say? You know, and just an attempt to sort of to understand where they're coming from, because you know, language is ever changing, and language is also cultural and regional. So someone might say something and not have an intent to cause harm or offend, and it could just be just the language that's used where they live or the language they read online. So how can folks be allies? Educate yourselves. A bunch of folks earlier mentioned books. Books are great resources, blogs, obviously YouTube, a plethora, Audible for those of us that don't like to read. And then I would say vote, pay attention. And you know, we're all one vessel of a person in this world. And it's, you know, we have a choice of the legacy we want to lead and how we want to live our lives and the impacts we make. So if you want to help out or do something, I think it's as easy as showing up, supporting someone in need, and then offering to listen to someone who's kind of on the fence, or someone that you could swing. And I think also when it comes time to vote, that's when we need our allies the most.
Right. Buck Angel, we have a Marcus who's asking, as a man who has a vagina, what are some of the things you did to remove your dysphoria around your genitals so that you could have sex?
Well, yeah, I'm going to go back to masturbation. It really was, and it wasn't easy. This is really, people need to understand, like, I don't think masturbation is easy for anybody, but I think for a person like myself, who is a man with a vagina, because we're so inundated with these ideas of what a vagina is, or what a man is, or what a woman is, or what that, you know, so I have that. And so it really was touching myself. Whether or not you want to call it masturbation or not, I touched myself. I took my hand and I put it on my genitals and I rubbed, and that was profound. And you need to do it in the privacy of your own space. Nobody else needs to be involved in it. It's your own personal time. And so this is what I tell a lot of the younger generation of guys like me who call themselves men with vaginas, or, you know, that you have to spend time by yourself. You have to take your intimacy to your own self in the bedroom and spend time with yourself. And that's the only really thing I can say that where I got to be where I'm at, is I spent time with myself.
Great. Our last question, or actually it's really not a question. Dr. Ava, you know that we have JIMMYJANE as our sponsor. As you can see, a lot of their products are behind me. Can you talk a little bit about the gift box that they are extending to our panel, and also what are some of the products that they'll be receiving?
Sure. And I love that Buck just talked about spending quality time with yourself, because that's exactly what you can do with some of the sex toys from our sponsor. So this is the Form 2 Pro, and it has a unique flexible design to surround any sensitive area with these concentrated vibrations. So it also has 5 levels of intensity, pretty much with the ability to sexually satisfy all genders and orientations. So this is the Form 2 Pro. Now, the next toy that they sent us, which some lucky raffle winner is going to win, and everybody on the panel is going to receive from JIMMYJANE, it's called the Canna, and it's also a powerful wand. It delivers precise vibrations with 7 high-performing intensity levels, and it also has 1, 2, 3 detachable heads. By the way, it lasts for 60 minutes. So there's plenty of time to stimulate all of your erogenous zones, either solo or with a partner. And then finally, we have the churros. Here it is. It's a vibrating silicone penis ring. And this has 7 vibrational modes. And then it has 2 powerful motors on each of the flexible ears. I hope you can see that. But it also helps you to keep a condom on, and it also helps you to maintain an erection. And finally, it can stimulate the clitoris simultaneously. So perhaps you can have simultaneous multiple orgasms together. So thank you so much, JIMMYJANE. We love all your products, and we're very grateful to you for sponsoring our fantastic panel.
Absolutely. So I want to thank our sponsor, JIMMYJANE. They are, JIMMYJANE is a design-centric brand founded on the belief that pleasure is power. They design high-tech products that inspire adventurous play and empower your overall well-being. One of our lucky raffle winners today is going to win a fabulous gift pack from JIMMYJANE. So Dr. Ava, can you pick our raffle winner?
Yes. Today's winner is Kim Varner. So Kim's going to get all these, plus I forgot to mention this amazing lubricant, which has a convenient pump. She's going to get all of the toys that we showed, and I think extra ones, right? Yes. So congratulations, Kim Varner. You're going to love it.
Okay, and that brings us to the end of our panel discussion on LGBTQ, love, and intimacy. Thank you, panelists, for all of your stimulating answers that we, all of us, can learn from. You can check out our panelists' websites on their bios that are listed in our registration, and go to their pages and learn more about them and see what amazing work that they do. Thank you, Dr. Ava and Labology University for hosting. And thank you, JIMMYJANE, again for sponsoring our panel on Sexperts. Finally, I want to thank you to all of our attendees for watching us. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Every day, we want you to live to love and love to live. And that concludes our panel for today.
Thank you.
You can end our recording.
Okay.